record. Okay, welcome everyone, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is a relatively diverse group from all around the world, it looks like. And right now, it seems like I'm just surrounded by women, okay? And I do know that there are at least 3 men who are joining the group, and I'm just waiting for them to show up on this call. And they will show up and it's the right time for them. I'm not worried about it. I'm recording this and I hope that you're okay with that at your end. If for whatever reason you're not okay, you can turn out your cameras. Okay, so yeah, sorry, Robbie. So okay, so let me begin by giving a little bit of an overview of the trip, and then we will answer any questions you might have. And then in the last about 15 minutes or so, I'd like to turn to an option that at least some of you seem to be interested in, which is the camping option. And we have a local person from the area, Dr. Ketana, and she is going to be leading that camping effort and answer any questions that you might have on that. Okay, so in terms of the overview of the trip, as you all know, we are walking or planning to walk the last about 100 kilometers of a very famous pilgrimage route called Camino de Santiago. I think the overall route, at least in Spain, is about 800 kilometers, if I understand it correctly. We are walking the last part. And the reason why we chose 100 kilometers is because you need to walk at least 100 kilometers in order to get certified that you walk the walk. And it also seems like a doable distance in about a week, and week seems like a reasonable amount of time to spend in order to kind of basically disconnect in a good way from the stresses of the world and also connect with each other on the walk, but not so long that most people find it difficult to take the time off. So that's the idea. That's why we chose a week. And as you all probably already realized, we will be staying, at least according to the plan right now, in a hotel in A Coruña. And every day a bus will come and take us to the new starting point for that day, which will be the end point of the previous day. And therefore, we will kind of what's called section hike the last 100 kilometers. And then at the end of the day, which of the walking at least, which we are planning to be around 3 p.m., we will be dropped back to the hotel. We'll take a little bit of a rest and then regather and have a little session, debriefing, maybe an hour, something like this, say from 5 to 6 p.m. And then after that, people are free to do their own thing. And I'm visualizing people gathering in smallish groups, 2 to 3 people with whom they really connected or want to get to know and go out to dinner, etc., and then come back. And then the next morning again, we'll have a relatively early start, I would say around 8 a.m. for breakfast, and then 9 a.m. for the bus departure, which will drop us, let's say, at 10 a.m. And then 10 to 1 or so, we'll walk, and then we'll have a little lunch, and then we'll walk from 1:30 to 3 o'clock. So that's the general idea. Obviously, if you're walking about 15, 20 kilometers every day, you need to be in reasonable shape. I don't think that this is particularly hilly terrain. I've not myself walked it, but just even walking on plain ground for 15, 20 kilometers back to back 6 days, I think you need to be in reasonable shape. Don't need to be in athlete shape, I think, but reasonable shape. Now, in terms of the costs, when we asked this tour company, they quoted certain numbers, and the numbers were around 900 euros for single occupancy, I think, and 1,300 euros or something, for double, and 1,300 for single. And then we padded that up just a little bit in order to pay for the buses and so on, and meals. But in the end, the option through the tour company is probably not working out because they wanted the payments already before. We haven't even totally 100% finalized everyone who's on the trip. And also, we had some questions about some of the things. Anyway, I won't get into the logistics right now, but what I've done in the meanwhile is I've just gone ahead and booked the hotel rooms by myself. It's totally cancelable and refundable. And so depending on the number of people who are joining us, I think I've booked more rooms than is necessary. I think I've booked it for about 30 people, 30. So I'll book the rooms that are not needed when the time comes, but that saves us some money. And so the numbers that I've quoted are probably higher than they need to be. And if that is the case, then I'll return the money to the people at the end of the trip or during the trip, just so you know. Okay, so you'll need to arrive into A Coruña or to Santiago de Compostela on the evening of the, I believe it is the, let me pull up the calendar real quick, 12th of August, which is a Saturday. And we will begin walking on the 13th of August, which is a Sunday. And we will end the walk on Friday, the 18th of August. And that'll be the last night that we spend together at that hotel in A Coruña. And then the next day, people are free to leave whenever they want to leave. If they want to extend the trip on their own, that's on them. But the happy walk at least ends at that point. I already mentioned a little bit about the meals. So the breakfast is going to be covered by the hotel already in my booking. I've checked that box. The lunches we will arrange. It'll probably be a simple cold sandwich lunch. We'll just carry it with us in our backpack. We'll probably get a bottle of water for everyone, things like that. But anything extra that you need, obviously, if you're, drinking juices or, you have, you just happen to drink a large quantity of water or whatever, then you need to make those special arrangements yourself. The dinners will be on your own, so that will be an extra expense. And of course, coming into A Coruña or Santiago de Compostela and then leaving from there to wherever you're from, that will be on your own as well. At the present moment, we are not sure if the medical insurance part is going to be covered in the cost. It may be. I will let you know. But that's another thing that you might want to take care of by yourself. Maybe within Europe, it doesn't matter. Within the Eurozone, you're covered maybe everywhere. But for people, for example, from India or from the US, I think that might be something that you look into as well. Okay, so I think I've given the overview of the trip. Maybe I forgot one or two things, but maybe they'll come up in the Q&A part of it. So why don't I open it up to the Q&A? You can type up your questions if you want, or you can unmute and speak up. Anyone at all? Or raise your hand and then I'll call on you. Okay, so let me just add a couple of things. Maybe there are questions that you can anytime raise your hand and ask those things. I'm really hoping that we get about 15 people on the trip. I think the 10 to 20 range is ideal. And if it becomes more than 20, I do think that, there's a chance that we split into not just organically, two subgroups, about 8-9 people walking in one group, another 8-9 another, or maybe even smaller subgroups. We'll see. But I think there's a level of intimacy that comes from the group being smaller. This is the first inaugural year we are doing it. And like I said earlier, unfortunately, Lyubov and Valia, they were always intended to come, but they're not able to come this time. For all of those reasons, I feel like a smaller group would be better. But if it turns out to be bigger, then so be it. Okay, there are some questions here. So Vinaya, yeah, I guess I say Vinaya, right? You can confirm that. So what time will the check-in time in the hotel on Saturday 3? I imagine it'll be around 3 p.m. Yes, and if you're coming in a little bit early, those are details that we can get a little bit later. And because we're booking so many rooms, I imagine the hotel is going to be accommodating. And if you come in, let's say at 11 a.m., then we can ask the hotel for a favor for one of the rooms, at least for a shower and things like that. So that should be a possibility. Okay, so Kitana, your question is the hotel in Coruña or in Ferrol? It's in A Coruña. It's a hotel called EXC Hotel. You guys can check it out if you want. Okay, it's a 3-star hotel, nothing fancy about it, but that's the hotel that the tour organizers had recommended. And so I said, let's just stick with it. And it seems to be reasonably well rated. So I just booked it. I reserved it for now. What time on Friday the happy walk ends in case I need to leave earlier? I imagine that the walk will end around 3 p.m. that day as well. I need to look at the distances and everything. So I would say if you want to leave that day, then you should plan on if you're catching a train, for example, no earlier than 5 p.m. And if you're catching a flight, then maybe 6 p.m. even. Of course, you know, in a pinch, you can just choose not to walk that day. If the only flight is, say, at 3 p.m., then you can just walk maybe until 12 noon and then leave. Won't be ideal, and you may not get that certificate at the end, but if it's between, you know, not coming on the walk or coming on the walk and spending 6 days with us, so almost the whole thing with us, then that's what I would do at least. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Okay, how would camping be part of the arranged, and have some people already showed interest in camping? Yes, some people have showed interest in camping. I personally would be very interested in it, but not this year, because I want to be with the main group. And I do think there are pros and cons. The camping, I imagine, will be a little more rough and dirty. And there's something to be said for creature comfort, especially after you turn 50, which I am. I'm 55. So I do see the pros of a hotel room and being able to shower and, you know, all that, feel clean. But, you know, I think the camping is the more authentic way to do it. And that's how the pilgrims have done it for a very long period of time. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Caitana. I have to tell you that the camping trip, obviously, if you're interested in it, you don't need to pay for the hotel room, right? But so it'll cut down the cost significantly. But I have to tell you that because it depends on how it unfolds. But if the campers are going to camp near the hotel somehow, and so they will need transportation every day, they will need breakfast, they will need lunch, etc., then, you know, that's something that will add to your cost. So it won't be zero is what I'm trying to tell you. Okay. And plus you might have to get your own camping gear. And if you're actually camping on the Camino itself, then you'll have to carry all of your gear with you, which could be like, I don't know, 40 pounds. Okay. So at this point, let me turn it over to Dr. Caitana and see what she has in mind. Okay. So if you can provide an overview of what you had in mind, and then, you know, any questions that come up with the camping, we can. So, but before I turn it over to her, can I just have, by a show of hands, you can just, I don't know if you know that icon, when you go to reactions at the bottom of the screen and press it, there is a raise hand icon. If you can raise hand, if you're interested in camping, right? If you're at least considering camping, then can you just do that right now so that we can just have a quick count, head count? Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that does include Dr. Caitana. So altogether, looks like 4 plus 1. Okay, that would leave 1, 2, I don't know, the rest of us except Blue Bob, which again is a smallish group. Okay, so, but by the way, I think that about half the people who are interested in this whole trip haven't come to this meeting for whatever reason. Okay, so it'll probably double both parts. Okay, so over to you, Dr. Caitana.
Thank you very much. So, regarding the camping, of course, it is a much more demanding walk itself. It's more towards the original has been always done, the Camino de Santiago itself. And know that in general, walking with no more than 10% of your body weight in terms of your backpack is recommended, which would include the camping gear, of course, that yes, each person would have to bring. Camping gear is the individual tent or group tent if you are coming with someone, sleeping bag, and maybe you want to have some kind of mat or something underneath. Obviously all the water and some fruit or whatever one would want for during the walk will always be highly recommended. So the camping part is definitely more exhausting, more tiring for the body, and you do need to be a little bit more trained because you will be carrying your backpack and your gear. Now, regarding the camping side, the camping version, we have. I'm going to suggest options here. One would be the camping itself. One will be the albergues or local hostels that are thought for pilgrims. Okay, so the camping option, yes, there are in itself, there's 2 options. I would strongly recommend one of them because it's more practical, which would be staying in the arriving point each day, not returning back with the bus. Okay, this all came up with my own concern about the money. I am myself very interested in joining the walk, and I've done it 3 times, not this same way, exact route that we are doing. I also did 100 and something kilometers each time, but from different starting points, so different routes. So I have not performed the one that we are planning here. But once we are camping, I would suggest, or strongly suggest, to stay in the ending point of that day. Find the camping site, which, as I've mentioned, many places already have that structure thought, because it's how pilgrims have done it for many centuries and millennials and so on. This would be very adventurous in terms of, you need to have a spirit keen on, once we've arrived, let's say at around 3 p.m. to the end point each day, have a little rest or drink some coffee or whatever one, be together, all of the people who have been walking together. And then when the people leave on the bus to go to the hotel in A Coruña, a group would stay in the area and then find that camping spot. This is much easier than going back to A Coruña, especially since it's a big city, and finding a camping area in the city is definitely not going to be possible. So if one wants to be completely attached to the group, I would strongly suggest go with the flow with the general group and book the hotel with everybody else. If someone wants to do the more original way, or is fitter and wants to do the more adventurous way, in that case, I would recommend we all walk together. We start in the starting point, in the meeting point where the bus will leave you. And from there, we all join together around 10, as you have mentioned. And we start again. We start that day. But arriving would be, once you've arrived to the ending point each day, staying there already. I would not recommend someone going back with a tent and everything on the bus to A Coruña. That will be definitely not impossible, but for sure more difficult. Again, it's a big city. It has cars, it has roads, and little parking space, little camping spaces. In the different arriving points each day, there will be, nevertheless, lots of fields around. Fields that are, one, private from albergues and hotels that are along the way that will have that camping possibility, or two, fields that have just the possibility. There is usually no problem with doing that camping in outskirts of that village. Now, I think that every village, every ending point each day will be a smaller village. This will be less complicated to find a camping area nearby than in A Coruña. This is why I'm mentioning that if someone wants to go back to A Coruña, then I don't think camping is possible. So that would be option A, camping, and in each arriving point, find the camping spot. This would depend also, I was not, when I mentioned about this possibility, I was not necessarily thinking about guiding other people to do it. I was just asking if that would be accepted for the general group that some of us, I was talking about myself mainly, I'll be happy to guide other people, of course, but it's something that I am adventurous, and I would not want to take responsibility for someone else who is not aware of this difficulty. Now, the second option that's also very interesting is, in each ending point, stay at the local pilgrims albergue. The local pilgrims albergues, there's usually more than one. Some are owned by the government, so they may be only €5 a night. You get a shared room, usually with bunk beds, and you get a small breakfast. You get access to the showers and the toilets and everything, but everything will be in group, for multiple people. So usually rooms are not private there. If you want your own private room, you can book a hostel privately, which is also an option. Some of the albergues for pilgrims are not owned by the government, but they're financed as well in part by the government. So they're quite inexpensive. Rates might be between 12 and 20 euros per night, same. Usually it's group rooms or bunk bed rooms. Sometimes it's 10 people in each room. Sometimes it's 20 people in each room. This brings up a second downside. Yes, it's cheaper, it's more unique as an experience, but sleep rest quality is not so good. There might be people who snore, there might be people who didn't want to shower and they will be smelling, and other normal common human issues of this sort. Yes, so in that case, if someone chooses not to be on the main group and go back to the hotel every day after each ending point, and you're not going to have the private bedroom, one of the things I would strongly suggest to bring with you in your gear are earplugs for the night, for example. Okay. Apart from that, the rest of the needs are very similar, and it doesn't really matter if you are walking 15 kilometers one day or 25 or 30. You need to be the lighter the possible. So for example, things like books, you will end up not reading. The time you have for rest, some people come from the cities and we kill time by reading, or we think we are going to need the time for leisure. Probably it's just you might open the book at some point and read one page, but overall you're bringing something that takes some space in your backpack and you're barely going to use. So I wanted to make this, of course, if you're going to stay in the hotel, your book can stay with you and that will be a little bit different. But when you're walking, you want to carry the less, the better. And if you're also walking and with your backpack, because your main backpack is not staying in the hotel, and you choose the option either camping or local pilgrim albergues, be aware that your backpack is going to be with you. Be aware as well that the weather, even if it's August, in northwest of Spain here in this region, is very changing. One morning can be very sunny, and 3 hours later, clouds have come, rain is dropping, and you will need to protect yourself with some kind of shield, usually a poncho, a rain jacket, or something that will also cover your backpack. Okay, so this is something that needs to be taken into consideration. Temperatures will not be very low. Even in winter, we don't go below 0. And usually temperatures in summertime may be a little bit cooler in the mornings, like 8 or 10 a.m. might be a good 12 degrees. And during the day, it might go to 32. So you need to be aware of this climate change. And for those, well, something that they always say is don't bring new shoes. If you're planning to walk the Camino, buy your shoes right now, today, tomorrow. Start using them on the weekends so that they're not brand new and they're not hurting you extra in your feet. So usually in the summertime, as this is being planned, the temperature drop at night should not be a problem if everyone's got a normal sleeping bag. Okay, you don't need one of those extra warm ones or anything, just a normal plain light one will be enough. Now, there's also to be aware of, there will be fountains along the way. Every tiny village, bars, for example, and cafeterias and restaurants are completely open to letting anyone to the toilet or to grab some water for free to refill your own bottle and things like this. This will not be a problem, as well as buying little either from souvenirs to fruits or peanuts or some snacks that people might find they need throughout the way. It's not like you're isolated in the middle of nowhere. There will be little parts, maybe 3 to 5 kilometers max, where you don't see a soul or a bar or anything, but there will be, they are the fewer. Okay. Let me see if there was anything. Yeah, more or less. This is what it would encompass. Um, walking that more original part of the Camino, way of walking the Camino.
Okay, so thank you very much, Kitana. That was wonderful. So Britt is asking this question on whether the path is clearly marked, or do we need a map and compass? I think it's pretty clearly marked, right?
Yes, the walk is very clearly marked with yellow arrows, and usually there in the last 100 kilometers, some people, there's stories of people getting a little bit lost, but it's usually further away inside Galicia. These last 100 kilometers that we are walking, it's perfectly clearly marked. Actually, some people walk it backwards sometimes as well.
Okay, so let's stop with that thing overview for now, and some of the more intricate questions on exactly what, for example, brand of tent they should bring, or who's going to tent together with who, or individual, etc. We can postpone for later. Within the camping option, quote unquote camping option, I think there are two sub options. One of which is what Kitana is going to do, which is an actual camping with a tent and everything. But some people, if they want to stay in these so-called albergues, I don't know how to spell it, but these are hostels run by the government or by private institutions, co-funded by the government, etc. Cheaper options than the hotel. If they want to consider that, then I'm afraid that unless Kitana, you want to take that on too, I'm not going to coordinate any of that. Okay. I think it might be simpler for you to stay with Kitana if you want to do with the, go with the hostels, albergues, or whatever, then you are going to have to do that on your own. Not to say that I'm not here to help in some way, but I obviously am not doing that option. I'm going back in the bus to the hotel, and that's the one that I will help coordinate, and I will manage that subgroup. Then Kitana will manage the camping subgroup. So I wanted to make that explicit because although Kitana talked about both options, it might actually turn out to be the case that only one of those options is the one that is available on this Happy Walk this year.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second. I would be happy to coordinate in a way to see who would be interested in that other option of not being in the hotel. And depending, because the camping option requires that you already are a camper kind of thing. I would not recommend anyone who has never camped before to say, okay, let's go into the adventure now. No, this might add some unnecessary stress to something that should be beautiful. So if someone's not an experienced camper, I'm still happy to bring on guide kind of those people, because that would mean we are starting and ending on the same village, all of us together, and then it would be okay. So depending on the amount of people who are interested in the camping, and depending on the amount of people who inside that group are interested in the albergues, I'll be happy to still kind of coordinate, but so that maybe there's only one person who is not a camping, and then there's going to be they're interested in the albergue. Maybe then it's easier for them to skip to the hotel part and just do with the general group, so that we're not split into so many different groups. And on the other side, if a lot of people are interested in this kind of cheaper option, but not in the camping part, I myself am happy even to do it with the public albergues, which should make it a maximum of 100, 120 for the whole week of walking spent in the hotel room, okay? Just to clarify.
So then what I'll do is, in the email that goes out after this, I'll lay this out, and what will happen, I think, is that there'll be a subgroup who's interested in camping / albergue, and I'm going to be CC'd on that email, and Kitana, but you will be the main person that they are corresponding with, okay? Just giving you a little bit of a heads up, and thank you very much for offering this. I know that you're doing it out of the goodness of your heart, and that's really wonderful. That's in the spirit of the whole thing. Okay, so we've talked about the option A, let's call it, with the hotels, with me, more expensive, more plush, etc. And then we have talked about the camping options, which has these two sub options under it. At this point, let me turn it back to all of you and see if anybody has any questions.
I'm sorry, I joined later, so I might have missed some information. So do I understand correctly that in, I don't, what I want to find out is how many how much time do we stay in A Coruna altogether? Because what I see from Maria that she writes that she would like to stay with the hotel option in A Coruna.
Yeah, we are going to be staying there for 7 nights, starting on August 12th and all the way to August 19th.
So if we A Coruna is the city, right?
Yeah.
So, but we are walking.
Yeah, so you missed the initial setup and maybe the email
Exactly.
too. I've kind of like answered all of these questions in the
Sorry.
email that went out. So yeah, so we're going to take a bus from the hotel to the starting point of the walk and then
Yeah.
walk to the end point. At the end point, the hotel will pick us, bus will pick up, sorry, not the hotel, take us back to the hotel. And we do that every day.
Okay, okay.
Does it make sense? Yeah.
So, thank you.
Yeah, sure thing. And let's see. So, Anika, can we form a Facebook group? That's a great idea. Yeah, so let me do that as well.
I'm not on Facebook.
Oh, who's not? Victoria?
Yeah, I'm not.
Okay. In any case, you know, we will be emailing each other. This is not a huge group. I think that it'd be nice to be on Facebook as well, because, you know, many people are and they can post pictures, etc. Especially when we are on the walk, it'll be nice. But for now, at least, let's continue with the emails. You know, this is not going to be a substitute for the emails if we do form a Facebook group. Okay. Any other questions or comments?
So greetings from Sofia, Bulgaria. Do you read us?
Could you repeat that? Sorry.
Yes, greetings from Sofia, Bulgaria. This is Alex and Biserka.
Hi.
Okay, I'm sorry. We also had some difficulties at the beginning getting on the Zoom, so we were on the phone only.
Mhm.
Will you please send a mail later on with the name of the hotel? And
Yeah, I will type it out right
if
here.
I understood quite correctly, from what I understood is we are going to sleep Friday night, the night after the last day of walking, back to La Coruña. This is important for us so that we know what arrangements to make for the travel. Okay, so the last day we go to Santiago de Compostela and then we return back to our hotel in La Coruña, and the next day on Saturday we depart from there. Thanks
Correct.
a lot.
That is the plan right now. Yes.
I could not fly to La Coruña. I got the flight to Santiago. Is that a problem?
That's fine. That's fine too. So both of those are acceptable. They're not that far from each other. And we will pick you up wherever you land.
From Santiago, you can get a train to La Coruña. I'm sorry, Caetano, you know better. Sorry.
Yes,
No,
I was just trying to-
I will fly from Santiago back.
Yes, so Santiago and Coruña are constantly connected. There's several trains an hour every hour, so it's usually around €6, €7 to the train from Coruña to Santiago. Victoria, in your case, if you're flying from Santiago on the way back, then probably you can just stay that night in Santiago instead of heading
On both ways. I haven't found flights to La Coruña, so I'm flying to and back. It's works okay.
Yeah, they're not very far from each other, from what I understand, and so
should be around 45 minutes train ride.
Okay, good. I don't think there are any more questions at this point. So, and we are almost anyway nearing the end time. I wanted it to be about 45 minutes long. So thank you very much, everybody, for coming. And I hope this was useful. And I'm really excited to make this happen. And I hope that all of you who are here on this call are definitely coming. And then there's going to be a few more as well on top of all of you. So it's going to be a nice group, I think, not too big, not too small. And I'm really looking forward to getting to know you all at a deeper level. Okay, thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you.
So, Lubov, if you could hang around for a little bit, that would be great because we needed to talk about a couple of things. Bye-bye, everyone else. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
I actually do have a question.
Yeah. Go for it.
It's fine. Because I have looked at flights, but I've not booked my flight yet. But so I can basically go through with booking a flight. So the walk is going through.
I am coming. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
all I can say, because I don't know who else
Yeah.
is for sure coming or not. Who knows
Mhm.
what might happen. Even for me, obviously I'm coming in the sense that my intentions are to come. My flight has been booked, etc.
Yes. Also, you have a longer trip. Where are you? You're based in Texas?
I'm based in Texas, but I'll be in India before it. So, and then I'm going
Oh,
to
okay.
A Coruña through Paris, most likely. So, mine is a complicated thing, but
Yeah.
my flight has been booked though. So
Yeah.
unless there is an act of God or something, I'm coming. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Have a good
Okay.
morning.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So can I ask one question?
Sure.
What is the best way to travel from India to A Coruña?
Okay. You and I can do that offline, Vinay. Okay. I have quite a bit of experience trying to book flights, so I can suggest some itineraries to you.
Thank you.
But just send me an email reminder though.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Kirsty, you're still there. Do you want to ask a question? I can't hear you. You're muted. You need to unmute yourself. You need to unmute yourself. You have to hit the mic icon.
No, actually, I'm fine with this information right now. I just have to figure out how to get the Corona.
Okay.
So this was useful. Yes.
Wonderful. Bye-bye. Take
Yeah.
care.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. All right, Lubov, it's you and I. Okay, so what were you trying to say there?
It's me, you, and Vala. Vala is sitting across the.
Oh, I see. Okay. Hi,
Yeah.
Valia.
You see her now. Hi.
Okay, hi.
Look, Raj, because the story is beginning to become very long and complicated. Here is more explanation. I've asked the Bulgarian agency. But because I started to talk to some of my friends who went to this route, not exactly this, but on different parts of this Santiago de Compostela routes, they told me that this is not very clever to use a bus anyway. However, I didn't act upon this and I didn't start thinking more because it was an initial arrangement until the lady from the Bulgarian agency called me and told me that during this, the hotels in Coruña are very expensive because during this period there is some event there.
But I already booked it, the hotel.
No, this is fine. I do understand that you booked the hotel. But if you, that is why, because anyway, I'm torturing this lady in the Bulgarian agency a lot with some questions and whatever. I decided on my own to go into internet and to basically ask for a standard trip on this route to a Spanish agency, and I have chosen because there are a couple of agencies on internet. I decided not to contact these three agencies that Penny contacted, but the fourth one. And so they gave me an offer that is for these 7 nights, it's 500 euro, Raj.
Okay.
And you pay, and you sleep in the end point, and they transfer you the luggage only. For these people.
But where do they make you stay? Do they make you stay in the albergue?
No, I've asked for double rooms and single rooms. So they provided the quotation in such places, small hotels, but you have a single room or double room, not 20 people or 10 people room.
I see. Okay. All right. So every night we stay in a different hotel, but we don't.
Every night you stay in different hotel. In the morning, you give them your luggage and they transport to the next place.
I see.
Which might be a good option also for camping people, because if we are hiring a transport, they can also transport their camping thing.
Yeah, that sounds good.
That sounds like a very good option, actually.
Yeah, definitely sounds like a very good option.
What I'm going now to do is to ask a Bulgarian lady to give us such quotation. So first, Raj, what was bothering me is that so you booked XZ, this is clear, but for all the rest, including the bus, we have a quotation for 25 people plus.
Yeah.
So now we need to precise a little bit the number and ask for a quotation for the bus, and potentially if I'm asking for a new quotation for sleeping in the end of the day place, I will ask them also to take into consideration that we will have also some equipment to be transported additionally. And ask them for a quotation, and let's see. And one last thing, this is the best really to sleep and day of Santiago, not Coruña, because everyone seems out to be not traveling. There are no flights suitable to Coruña. People will be to Santiago traveling anyway. So let me ask this lady. It will take a couple of days for a new quotation.
Okay.
And only if we like it, you share with people. I don't think that anyone will say no in case it's cheaper. And we keep the same rule. It will be double room, it will be clean and neat, and so on and so on.
Okay.
And we'll stay together in a group. You'll stay together.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good to me. I would say at this point, don't bring in the camping gear and the tent gear and everything. It'll just be confusing, I think. Okay, you can ask them if you want, but right now, Caetana is saying that she's going to be in charge of them. She's going to, walk with the camping gear with them.
Okay.
But it's up to you. If you think that adding that won't complicate things, then you can do it. But it sounds definitely like a very good option to be considered. And I do agree that it was a little bit, I was not sure how to deal with the bus and food and all of those things. So are they including breakfast and lunch or in this?
These guys from the Spanish agency, they included breakfast and lunch in a box, something like apple, they said, and sandwich.
Okay, what is wrong with going with the Spanish agency directly?
Why not to go with the Spanish agency? We can go with the Spanish agency. This means that someone has to pay 20% upfront. They wanted it until I think end of this week, which we can prolong, of course. And then they will collect from everyone the money.
I see. Then they will collect individually from everyone, or?
Yeah, no, they want prepayment to be done from one person, and
okay.
then they're going to collect individually. But if they're, look, why I'm try here, not none of the Spanish agency want to collect more money than the price they're giving, which is Bulgarian agency is ready to do that.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, then let's just wait on this for a couple of days. And then I think that...
Let me ask the Bulgarian agency for such a quotation. Let's see their quotation. And because otherwise with this Coruña thing and Exec Hotel, we are in a situation where we need to find a bus.
Yeah, that is true. Let's go with this option. What I'm going to do is... Go ahead, finish up.
Which is not basically bad thing, probably, even if we stay with this option, because we can negotiate with the Bulgarian agency just to find the bus and some whatever. And then they will collect again the money, and they will collect with the markup with some margin in order to cover potentially you and Penny costs.
Okay. So sounds good, Lubov. Actually, my cost is okay. I think only Penny will cover. So why don't you just get back to me by, I think, Wednesday or Thursday? Okay. And
I'll get back to you when I have the quotation, Raj.
Right. But you said a couple of days. The thing is that at some point we have to kind of pull the plug. We have already kept going on for a while. So
yeah, I know that, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah. Okay, great. Sounds good. I'm going to send an email out to everybody that came today just to summarize what happened and also share the recording.
Yeah. not mentioning what we have
No,
spoken now.
no. Right now, I won't
But
mention
I
it.
don't think that anyone will say no to a lower price and a better option.
Okay, I will just mention that, just so you know, we are considering a third option, which I
No,
will.
just no, don't
No, not for
say
now,
that.
don't mention that.
Tell them for now that we will be looking for an option to spend last night in Santiago.
Okay, I'll tell them that. Okay,
Because the seem and which might be easier for majority of people.
sounds good. Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye. Bye, Raj.
Bye, Valya.